Hey there, how you doing? So Tuesday 28th then, on the surface, it doesn't look like there's much going on. We've just got the moon in an exact opposition with Mercury, and then later on the moon in an exact trine with Venus. However, this is, you know how people say the dark before dawn, the calm before the storm. We've got a moment of pause, I would say, before the full moon kicks in on the 29th. As you can see here, the 29th is a pretty big day. We've got the full moon in Aquarius. Also, Jupiter is in an exact Cazimi with the sun just before the moment of the exact full moon. We've also got Venus square Mars. So there's a lot going on there. However, we also have Jupiter Cazimi starting. See, the Cazimi, like the moment of the Cazimi is when Jupiter is exactly in the heart of the sun. And I just need to check my notes. That happens, I think, in fact, let me just check here. No, where is it? There it is. It happens at 6 degrees 24 in the sign of Leo. So if you got something around there, that's absolutely magnetized by the sun and Jupiter in quite a lucky way. And in fact, if you've got anything at 6 degrees in any of the fire signs, they'll be really, really working with that energy. I think I've got Mars at 6 degrees Sagittarius, which is going to absolutely be vibing with those, you know. So this 6 Leo is a really kind of special place. But you can see here that we've got the times of and I put this London, Lisbon, this is where I'm based. That's why it's in the middle. And I've got the times from Canberra, Australia, right the way through to Hawaii, USA, trying to get the full breadth of the world without putting in like 20 different locations. These are the locations where I know I've got lots of people watching me. So what you can see is if you're in New York, LA, or Hawaii, for instance, basically, if you're in America and beyond that, you're actually going to start going into the Jupiter Cazimi on the 28th at the end of the day. If you're in Hawaii, hello Patrice, if you watch, if you're in Hawaii, it starts to come in at 5 p.m. on the 28th. Now, I'm saying coming in and then leaving. In the middle of all of these points, you'll see the exact time when Jupiter is right in the heart of the sun, when they're both at 6 degrees 24. But you can see here when they start to come in and come out, there's a very, very tight definition. And we're looking at 17 minutes of arc. And so here is when the sun is 17 minutes of arc away from Jupiter. So it's really, really precise. And then from that, it gets closer and closer until it's exact. And then the Cazimi goes until the sun passes Jupiter and is 17 degrees of arc away. So it's not, sorry, I said 17 degrees, 17 minutes of arc. It's not degrees. It's a tiny, tiny little part of a degree. And so that's the official definition for the actual Cazimi itself. Thereafter, the sun and Jupiter are going to be combust until August. What that means is once the sun moves out of the way of Jupiter, Jupiter's just going to be overpowered by the sun's rays. And then by the time we get to August the 14th, the sun is a significant distance from Jupiter and he starts to be seen properly again. But during the Cazimi itself, it's almost like there's a halo effect. You know, the sun is really magnetizing and supersizing, almost like putting Jupiter on steroids. Now, the reason why I've put this in is just to sort of acknowledge for people in the US that it's good to be really mindful towards the end of the day, because as you get to the end of the day, Jupiter Cazimi is coming in, and it's in a Cazimi for such a short space of time. I mean, it's going to be Cazimi for 18 hours and 31 minutes, but it's associated with luck. It's associated with being a great time to ask for what it is that you are seeking, you know, to really spend a moment or two tuning into your highest good, tuning into the highest good for yourself and your family, your community, your job, maybe even humanity itself. It's a good time to practice gratitude because Jupiter is absolutely a planet of hope and optimism and also gratitude. He's also known for being completely generous. And so again, it'd be a really great time to give away something that you no longer need, knowing that it's going to go to somebody who is going to meet that with gratitude. It's a great time to just kind of open up hope, and also go into that sort of generous, reciprocal kind of energy, like really be in flow is what I would say. And that's going to be taking us into Wednesday the 29th, when we do indeed have that huge day where the moon's making a hell of a lot of aspects going in, then the sun and Jupiter go into the Cazimi, and then there's that full moon, which I will be talking about in due course. So apart from that, on Tuesday, like even if you're in Australia or in mainland Europe or in the London, Lisbon time zone like I am, you might start thinking, okay, well, this happens once a year. How might I use this? Is there something that I really feel grateful about right now? And how can I develop a small little practice to appreciate and honor that? So it's giving you a heads up. That's why I've mentioned it for Tuesday the 28th. So anyway, back to the two minor aspects. The moon in an opposition to Mercury, I think, is where we are maybe clamming up a little bit. Maybe we're not necessarily sharing our thoughts as eagerly as we might have done just a few days ago. The moon in an opposition to Mercury, like when they're in a conjunction, we're very, very chatty. We're very, very talkative about what's going on for us. We open up our heart, and everyone can really feel it, especially because the last time the moon and Mercury were in a conjunction, it was in the sign of Cancer. But here we've got the moon in Capricorn. And if you know anyone with moon in Capricorn, they're not necessarily forthcoming. They have a lot of discernment. They take their time. And so really what I'm getting for Tuesday is this is a moment to not rush anything, not feel rushed or pressured by your thoughts, but to come into yourself and tune into your discernment, tune into a different part of yourself. I mean, you might naturally be like that. I'm not really, but if I was going to go into that, I would maybe honor that part of me that has been a girly swat or head girl. It's almost like honoring the head girlness of you, or head boy if you're, to me, like there's everybody has a persona somewhere within them that has done well and has worked really hard and has actually taken a moment or two to take themselves seriously. I think this also rolls into my message, I think, from Saturday into Sunday, talking about Saturn retrograde. Saturn retrograde is, I think, definitely a moment where we are taking ourselves seriously, we're taking ourselves on, and we're making some big decisions, and we're practicing our life in a new way. So I think this is a time to lean into it and don't talk yourself out of it. This is a time to be quietly talking to yourself, not necessarily broadcasting to other people. And then we've got a very respectful trine between the moon and Venus across Earth signs. Now, Venus is very kind and very, very helpful, very productive in the sign of Virgo. She really likes to be of service here. And she's very humble in the sign of Virgo. And so to me, I think, again, we've got something very quiet, quite studious, where we're getting the job done. We're not requiring a parade for ourselves. We're just getting the work done, and we're taking ourselves seriously once again. So Tuesday, I really think this is a day to take ourselves seriously, to go with our own flow, to be calm and considered, and also maybe get prepared for a moment of generosity, a moment of appreciation for what we want to bring in, because as we come to Wednesday, we will be coming into that really mega day with the full-on Jupiter Cazimi. You'll notice here that for everybody, the exact moment of the Cazimi does actually occur on the 29th. And for instance, if you're in London, Lisbon, or mainland Europe, then the whole of the Cazimi takes place on the 29th. So whether you experience this as it's darkest before dawn, it's you know, the calm before the storm, you know, that moment before full moon when the full moon madness kicks in. I don't know, but I hope you have a beautiful day. And I'll be back here again tomorrow with another update and also a separate full moon in Aquarius update. So stay tuned for that. Lots and lots of love to you. Take care and catch you another time. Bye for now.